Alright guys, so working on the Skygunbro Boba Fett helmet. This is probably the second coat, maybe the third coat. I want to say we had one coat and we sanded it, and we had another coat and we sanded it, so this is going to be the third coat. You can see there's some things, don't worry about that, that's all just normal because of how I'm painting it, but basically what we've done is we painted it and then we sanded it down with like a 600 and 800, and then we painted it again after drying and cleaning it really well, and then we painted it with like an 800 and a 1200, and then we cleaned it and dried it, painted it again, and there's 2 days between each one of these, and now we're gonna sand it with some, let me grab it here, some 1500 and some 2000 weight sandpaper. Now got this it's like Diabia or something. It's I'm sure it's Chinese or something. Got it off of Amazon. It's a wet sandpaper. Been super great for all the stuff we do. You get a big old pack of it for not very expensive on there. Highly recommend it in terms of stuff. In terms of usability, just because you end up going through a decent amount of it and it kind of breaks down, especially the lighter stuff breaks down pretty quickly, and so it's not really worth keeping around. So paying a bunch of money for like 3M stuff is sort of, in my opinion, not very usable. So we're going to do with this, we're going to sand the entire surface. We're going to start with the big surfaces first. If you've watched the other video we have for the Stormtrooper, you can see we've done, I actually did that one just before this one. It's over here, and so this one I just got a container of water, just some like filtered kitchen water from my refrigerator, and then I'm going to start with 1500. I have a slightly warm piece. I'm going to start using that one first just to use it up all the way. Usually you'll know when these are starting to fail because you'll start getting little speckles, and speckles will start to kind of come off the thing, and you won't get as much surface mounted, but that's usually the starting point. You see, starting to see here? I don't know if you can see that. See that right there? There's little speckles. That means it's starting to go down and it's starting to lose its conductivity of sandpaper-ish. So I'm working my way around the big stuff first, around the big edges first. I try to do that because it's the easiest stuff to tackle, working in a circular motion, not doing this back and forth, but trying, because that'll, even at this point, can groove it. And my goal is to take a little bit off the top. I'm going to hit this with 2 different kinds of sandpaper, so I'm not super worried about. I have just a towel underneath it, simple towel that absorbs some of the water so it doesn't go anywhere. In my case, I have a beach towel that's working pretty well. Bummer whenever I do this, and I said this in another video, is like when you start doing this work, like it looks really great right now. It's like super glossy and sandy, and every time I sand it down, I'm like, ugh, great. You know, there goes a good paint job. I'm gonna sand it down and have to hopefully get another good paint job. So, but what I'm building on every layer is a luster that really, like the first layer looked nice, and that second layer looked even better. Now we're getting into this later things. It actually looks nicer and nicer as time goes on because you're building sort of a depth of color, even with the. I'm just using rattle can enamel for this, as you've seen. So, like I said, we're just working our way around here. Keep it nice and wet, keep it rinsed off. Working around the big surfaces. This is gonna all get painted black. Some people have kept it white. My particular bent on the pictures that I've researched off the web is I'm gonna go black here with the black greeblies with the silver kind of touch. This is going to disappear here, but still want this to be a nice smooth surface. That fits a greebly that fits right in there that Skygunbro kind of molded to fit there, which is pretty sweet. When I got that out to sand it, it was a pain in the rear to sand, not because of anything he did necessarily, just because the greeblies are small and I work better on big surfaces rather than small surfaces, sadly. So gonna go through there. Let's work on this side here, and then the details, like these guys, the grooves, I'm gonna hit those in a second. I'm gonna chuck that guy and work on this guy now, so because I can already see pieces coming out. Work the edges, flat stuff, bottom stuff. When you get to the details, I'm gonna hit those next, stuff like around this groove, after I get the big stuff, because I want to make sure I get the big surfaces done really well, and then I can focus on the small surfaces. Otherwise, I'm just too easily distracted. I'll start working on one thing, and then I'll miss a whole section, and I'll just forget where I'm at. So, big sections first, little sections second. Again, just working my way through. Not trying to repaint this sucker. I'm not trying to strip all the paint off. I'm just trying to take off a little bit of the gloss, and then I'm trying to work my way down. So now I'm going to work on this guy, working around the whole head cap here. Now, again, if you watch the other video, you've already heard this, but you want to make sure you do all of this consistently and get it done. Like I'm probably gonna miss stuff, not on purpose, but you want to do the best job you can, because I had a buddy used to say, you know, why is it we always have enough time? We never have enough time to do it right the first time, but we always seem to have enough time to do it again. Like doing this right, and I think that's really apt. Like doing this right the first time, the best you can, even if maybe at least you've done your best. You don't have to come back and do things again. Now there's some stuff I really still don't like. I don't like these guys. I don't like these guys. I don't like some of the way things turned out. But that said, I was able to fix some of those problems just by laying down some paint in certain ways and that sort of thing. Like, for example, these guys, I'm not a big fan of how they turned out. It was really hard to get in there. What I ended up doing is layering quite a bit of paint in there, and the paint sort of settled into the low parts. Usually that's a bad thing, but I would put paint in every layer a little more, and it sort of settled in and smoothed it out. There are some places where I was able to kind of create a little bit of a depth, a texture to it, and not have to worry so much about like things not working for me. So, all right, so we're coming around here. These guys, got this guy. Okay, so that guy, done with this guy. This is the 1500. Gonna put that aside. I'm gonna move up to I'm gonna rinse it off and start with the 2000. Same thing. Go do the whole thing again. This is way easier than the Stormtrooper in my opinion, just because there's a lot less edges in terms of like depth, but it's a good helmet to work on. So I'm gonna move on to the 2000. Do the same thing again. You probably don't even want to watch that. And then from here, I'm gonna dry it. I'll clean it, or actually I'll clean it and then I'll dry it, and then we're gonna put on the next layer, hopefully the last layer of paint.